and remote delivery, we've actually seen new societies start WP projects and volunteering projects for the first time, and we've also seen societies which have been delivering them for many years come back and continue delivering them. So that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to hearing from those groups today. Before we do that, we're going to hear from our guest speaker, which is Jessica here with us. As Jessica was a student at King's and really involved in student-led volunteering while she was at King's, and now works in the charity sector. So I'll just hand over to Jessica now, who's going to talk a bit about her experience.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So my name's Jess. I studied European Studies at King's between 2012 and 2016. I'm really very pleased to be here today. King's has such a strong tradition of community volunteering. I'm really happy and proud to be part of that and to hear about some of the work that you've been doing. So I've been working in the charity sector for the last 5 years across a range of different causes, really. So my background is in coordinating projects and also in developing funding proposals for trusts, foundations and institutions. I currently work for an anti-slavery charity that advocates on behalf of modern slavery survivors and supports them in accessing their legal rights and entitlements. And then prior to that, I worked in Peru for 3 years, and I was coordinating a financial empowerment program. So while I was at King's, I was involved with the KCL Star Society and was their president as well for a year. So I've been invited today to share some of my reflections from that experience and to share with you some of the things that I learned, and also how I was able to apply some of those learnings in my work in the charity sector. So as some of you might know, STAR exists to improve the lives of refugees and asylum seekers in the UK and promote independence and integration. So we worked with a local charity partner called Love to Learn in Battersea, and they run a weekly homework club for children from refugees and asylum seeker backgrounds. So it was an hour of homework help and then an hour of fun activities, and we did all kinds of things. We did arts and crafts, sports, cooking, all kinds of stuff. And our job at KCL Star was to recruit and train volunteers from the university who would then go and provide one-to-one homework support for these children. And this was a really great project because children facing disadvantage could access one-to-one support with their schoolwork that unfortunately they weren't really accessing at school or at home, and then also just have some fun, which we all know is so important for well-being. So one of the really important things that I learned from volunteering in this project was the importance of community and companionship. So the children would always be really excited to come to the homework club, and maybe they were just really looking forward to doing their maths and their algebra. But I think they loved coming because it was important to them to be a part of a community and develop positive relationships and just spend some time where they didn't have to worry about whatever difficulties were going on at home. And we need positive relationships, and we need community to flourish. And at this homework club, the children knew that there would be people there that would be looking forward to seeing them and cared about them and cared about what happens to them. And I think that when things are very difficult, knowing that someone cares what happens to you can sometimes give you the boost that you need to carry on. And so I think these ideas of community and companionship really contributed to the positive outcomes of this project as much, if not more, than the actual homework help. And this learning was really important for me, actually, and something I thought a lot about during the different projects that I've worked in. When I was working on a financial empowerment program, I realized that the idea of community and companionship was really important, as well as the hard business skills, that we also needed to create opportunities to foster relationships, and for the participants to help each other and share their concerns with people in similar circumstances. And this really helped them to learn better and also build the confidence to be able to apply what they were learning in their own projects. Something else which I learned from this from the volunteer project that was really important was the importance of participant ownership. So this was something that the homework club did really well. Like, they would be always asking the children for their input, asking them what would be most helpful to them, what kind of support would be helpful, and what ideas they had for the activities that we could do. And the children would always take this really seriously and would be really excited to contribute their ideas. And when I started working in the charity sector and when I did my project management qualification, the idea of participant ownership was talked about a lot, and how this is important to cultivate trust, to strengthen buy-in to the project, and also take into account a range of diverse perspectives. And so when I was studying this course, I would thought back to my experience with STAR, actually, and I thought about how important and how empowering that was, and how it promoted engagement and also made sure that the project was using its resources in the best way. It made me realize as well that when it comes to running projects, the concepts that makes a successful project are often the same, whether we're talking about a small community project or a larger project with a six-figure budget. The last kind of key learning that I wanted to share with you and talk about was the importance of bringing together different sections of the community. So at this homework club that Star was helping with, there were lots of people in the room that I don't think would have been in the same room together otherwise. We had a lot of student volunteers studying a range of different courses, a lot of volunteers that were working from different professional backgrounds, staff, children, parents. And it made me realize that fighting injustice and contributing to social change requires bringing together different sections of the community, and the importance of including everyone, and that we need to be asking ourselves who isn't in the room that should be. And sometimes the answer isn't immediately obvious. So this was something I really reflected on when I was working with the financial empowerment program as well. And it led to some unlikely but very beneficial partnerships from banks and businesses that also, wanted to contribute to the development of their communities. I think that everyone here will continue to play an important role in improving our society and reducing inequality in our communities, whether you go into working in the charity sector or not. Some of you may do, some of you may go on to do other things. What I would say was just urge you to take the time to reflect on your learnings and use them to shape the work that you'll go on to do in the future, and to share those learnings with others. So before I leave you, I just wanted to say that the charity sector has had to pivot so much during the last year. All charities of all different sizes have had to completely rethink what they do, adapt how they continue their services, and in many cases even respond to new needs that have been brought about by COVID-19. The fact that you've been able to continue your activities, and in some cases even do new ones during this time while studying full-time for a degree, is a truly remarkable achievement. So I wanted to congratulate you on that. And just to thank you really for the work that you're doing, because in order to address injustice and inequality, we need people to refuse to accept it and work to address it, no matter how small the scale. So that brings me to the end. Thank you. I can't wait to hear about your projects.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That was fantastic. It was really great to hear on how the learnings that you've taken from volunteering have shaped different aspects of your kind of career decision making going forward. So next, I'm going to introduce a student group. So this is the Bangladesh Society, who have been working on the Casey Elevate project well, it's not a new project, it's continued, and it's continued to expand despite COVID. So would the presenters from Casey Elevate like to share their slides?
Can everyone hear me? Because my laptop's having a bit of a moment.
So I can hear you now, yeah. Feel free to start.
Yeah, sorry, my laptop's overheating already, which is not the best sign, but it's okay. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for being here today. So my name is Anika Ahmed and I am Casey Elevate's Dentistry Stream Lead and Secretary, and I'm joined by Sean today. So Sean, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Sean and I'm the Casey Elevate co-lead for this year.
So I'll go to the next slide. So Casey Elevate is a longitudinal project which aims to help Year 12 British Bangladeshi students get into 3 competitive fields. So those are medicine, dentistry and law. And we created this project after we realized the discrepancy between the employment rates of British Bangladeshis compared to other ethnicities within the UK. So if we just take a look at this data, so this is data released from the Office for National Statistics in 2018, sorry. So basically it's representing the proportions of employees within 4 salary groups. So on the left-hand side, we've got the proportion of employees in the highest paid group. And on the right-hand side, we have the proportion of employees in the lowest paid group. Now, if you take a look at the bottom, we have those in the Bangladeshi community, and we have the fewest employees in the highest paid group, but the largest proportion of employees in the least paid group. We also found from a Freedom of Information request in 2019 that although the British Bangladeshi community make up almost 5% of the UK's population, only 1% of offers made by Kings in 2018 were to those of Bangladeshi descent. So really, we created this project because we wanted to encourage our community to be successful in their career path and enter into the really competitive paths as well.
Okay, so to help our community excel in their careers, the first step is, of course, to get them into good universities. So at the start of this year, we made some videos which are available to everyone on our Instagram, just about, different advice on how to get into university. So it'll be things about personal statement advice, advice on the entry exams like UK CAT, MCAT, not MCAT, BMAT, and so on. And then also applying for Oxbridge specifically as well. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah, so this is just the teaser trailer for the video series that we created. So you can see the personal statement, BMAT, the weekend program, and just other videos that we did as well. So I'm trying to go to the next slide. There we go. So we also had an event which was the mock MMI and panel interview session. So this is basically where medical and dental students can practice giving interviews to current students in the fields. And at the end of each interview, each individual student was given tailored feedback on how they can improve and all of the constructive feedback and all of the good things that they've been doing as well. So this event we were really heavily oversubscribed for. So I think it's definitely an event worth having again, and probably an event that other WP projects can consider having as well if they're interested.
Okay, so this is one of our main events, which is the weekend program. So just to explain, these photos are from last academic year, and this is how the weekend program would normally look instead of over Zoom. So we just wanted to show you what it looks like. So essentially, we select 45 British Bangladeshi Year 12 students to benefit from this program, and we'll invite professionals from specific fields, and we try to invite KCL alumni as well to speak to the students about their experiences in getting to where they are and share their advice. And then we also invite current students to talk about their experiences at the university. We'll also teach them some skills that they can, talk about in their personal statement or in any interviews, and we'll give them an idea of what that subject is like. And then, the main aim of the program is for them to get like a taste of the degree that they want to go into, and offer them the support and advice that they can benefit from. And loads of students will decide over that program if they want to actually do that degree. So we've had students switch from medicine to dentistry, even from dentistry to law, and to other degrees that we don't necessarily take care of, but we'll still offer them support as much as we can. And then we also have our mentoring program, which was mentioned. So some of your programs will also have a mentoring scheme, but just to explain what it is, we essentially pair a student from KCL or not from KCL, just a student in the subject that the Year 12 wants to go into, with the Year 12, and this will be conducted over Slack, so they'll be able to have a conversation, and the student can ask the university mentor whatever questions they like and ask for any advice. And at the weekend program, they'll have a chance to meet their mentor as well. Yeah.
So in terms of impact, we asked our students to fill in pre and post program evaluations. And as part of that evaluation, we asked them to a series of questions, one of which was how informed are you on the applications process? So if we take a look at the graph before the weekend program, we had students giving scores towards the lower end of the scale, and most of them were giving scores of 7 followed by 6. However, if we look at the data from after the weekend program, most students actually voted for 9 followed by 10, and we don't actually have any votes below 7. We also observed this trend in the other questions that we included as well. So some of those questions were like, how much information do you know about the course you're applying for? How confident do you feel that you will be accepted? So we saw that similar trend in those questions too. Additionally, we asked the students if they would recommend KC Elevate to a friend, and most of them happily gave us scores of 10 for that as well. So that is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your attention, and now we would like to open up to questions, and I'll stop sharing as well.
Thank you, Sian and Anika. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat box, or also you can raise your hand. So I can see a raised hand from Luke.
Great. Thank you so much both for your presentation. I really enjoyed it. I was wondering, so you spoke to us about a few different elements of your program, for example, like videos through Instagram. You talked about the mentorship and the actual intervention itself, like running the information, advice and guidance. Which do you think was the most effective and why?
I feel like the weekend program has been the biggest, most impactful, I think, if impactful is a word. So I feel like because it was over Zoom, we could actually see the students, we could speak to them. We do feel like Slack is also a really good platform to be using, because that's how they're communicating with their mentors one-on-one. But I think just because we were able to do the event over Zoom, we had a slightly more personal touch. It would have been amazing to have done it in person like we did last year. Like, I definitely feel like the weekend program last year was just an amazing event. The kids absolutely loved it. But yeah, that's what I would say was the one that was like the biggest highlight of our year.
Great. Thanks, Anika.
And I can see that Isabel, you've got your hand up as well.
Hi, I just wanted to say absolutely amazing work, guys. It's so inspiring to see all of the hard work you've put into this. And obviously you've got amazing results, so that's really exciting. I was just wondering if it was like how you select the students and whether they're just students in London or whether you like expand it to the rest of the UK, how kind of you decide that.
So we do have like a selection process. So we'll have a Google form and we'll ask them specific questions like, of course, why they want to study the subject and why they want to be on the KC Elevate program. And so we'll kind of just go through their personal statements. And it's somewhat up to our judgment to see what they say. But we'll also have a specific selection of certain schools because we know some schools like benefit more from support from teachers and things like that. So we'll try to be more strict about, letting certain students on and, be more open to other schools. So there's like a few criteria that we kind of follow and then we'll just discuss it together or, so it's up to our judgment kind of.
Yeah, we had this year we also introduced a point system kind of. So we based the point system on eligibility criteria such as if the student is receiving free school meals or if they have a disability or if they would be the first generation to go to university. So things like that are things that we also take into consideration. And at the moment, we're only really looking at students from 3 boroughs, but that's also to do with the limitations of our team. So like the others mentioned at the beginning of the event, obviously we are students studying full time. So it's really difficult to, I think, look at loads and loads of different students from loads and different schools. But I think if we had a bigger team, that might be something that we can consider. Maybe in the future, but we'll see. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those questions and again for a really brilliant presentation. Great to see all of the different ways that you're kind of supporting these young people. I can see, I'm sorry that I know we've got another hand up, but I'm conscious that we want to make sure we're able to hear from all of the different groups. So please do feel free to pop any comments or questions in the chat function as well, and we can use that too. But otherwise we'll move on to our next student group and I'll pass over to Student Action for Refugees Society to introduce themselves.
Great, thank you very much. I'll just share my screen now. Perfect, can you see that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
it's also gone now. Okay, hopefully this will, or we'll try again. There we go, yeah, wonderful. So hello everybody, my name is Eve and I'm presenting with Siobhan today, and we volunteer and Siobhan kind of coordinates the programme. So we are KCL STAR, so Student Actions for Refugees, and this specific project is the online homework club, which I think Siobhan's going to go and explain a little bit more about.
Yeah, so it was great to hear at the beginning from Jessica, and I'm sure you'll love to know that our partnership with Love to Learn is also still going strong, and we have a couple of other volunteering projects as well that we've been running. But this particular project is our online homework club, which we have partnered with Lewisham Virtual School for. So Lewisham Virtual School is like the umbrella that looks after the education requirements of children who are living in foster care. So we worked with their unaccompanied asylum seeking cohort and also with connections with Southwark Borough. So they're students at Southwark College who were getting ESOL support. So yeah, and we, as you can see, we run Thursdays at 5 to 6 p.m. on Zoom. We're still running. We've got 2 more sessions, one tonight and one next week. And we use Zoom. So the young people come along and they can bring homework with them, or the volunteers have like a selection of resources so that they can play games to learn English with them, just do some chatting, do some reading resources, or use some ESOL lessons from websites like ISL Collective. Yeah, so what they come in, and then we try to do one-on-one support, but it's 2-on-1 because we have to have 2 volunteers for safeguarding reasons, but we try to have personal support, and then you basically work on whatever they want to do, and then we come back together at the end and play a Zoom game before they leave. Yeah, so that's how it tends to go. And I think the next slide is about the challenges we've had.
Yeah, so I think we can all agree, obviously doing online learning and online projects, we naturally have to face a few different challenges. Some of these outlined here. So technical challenges, I think everyone can relate to this, you know, with connection issues, Wi-Fi issues. It's kind of this idea of everyone kind of have to adapt to this online space. So some of the students would have issues with Wi-Fi, some of the volunteers would have issues with Wi-Fi as well. So it wasn't just a one-sided kind of technical challenge. I think it was one we all face as society, and also just like navigating Zoom in terms of, you know, allowing people to screen share or breakout rooms, and just kind of the new normal, I guess. But I feel like we got around that okay. Secondly, one kind of more society-based was language challenges. So obviously we have lots of different students from lots of different backgrounds who speak a range of different languages. So we did have some difficulty communicating and explaining different tasks, and especially with homework, it's very subject specific sometimes. So there was a demand in terms of making sure we communicated that in a way that was easy to digest and was easy to understand, and also kind of being able to adjust what we were doing to different levels and different levels of advancement with English. But overall, I think we kind of got through that. I think Siobhan's going to talk about more of a logistical issue now.
Yeah, so those are the main challenges that our volunteers said in their feedback. This last challenge of finding a partner was it's more of a logistical challenge. So originally we were intending to partner with a school that we've worked with in the past in person, but unfortunately a week before the homework club was due to start in second term, this partner withdrew because they felt that their young people were being overloaded with virtual options, and there wasn't room for another virtual option in their school day or after school. So we had to find a new partner rapidly, and I'm like really proud of my volunteers who stuck with me, even though there was this like need to change things, and it wasn't certain whether we would be able to volunteer or not. But yeah, so basically through contact with my mum, who is a social worker at Lewisham, I managed to partner with Lewisham Virtual School. So we did all the admin-y stuff as rapidly as we could, and it's been great to work with them, and yeah, working really directly with the young people. It's good for young people at the virtual school to be able to kind of meet together and socialise together, because they wouldn't necessarily go to the same college. So yeah, that part of it's been nice.
So kind of more of a positive side, I guess, more of the outcomes of it. So over the months we've been running, we've had a maximum of about 12 participants, which I think with the amount of volunteers we have, it works quite nicely because we can tailor it, like Siobhan mentioned, kind of one-on-one, and get that kind of like personal and tailored approach. So for the volunteers, I think the outcomes, which I can definitely resonate with, is this idea of seeing development and seeing this improvement over the weeks of the students and how they're advancing and getting on with their English, but also with their school life. And I think that's a really rewarding experience and an honour to be part of. And it's really quite just lovely to see how far people have come and the impact just an hour a week can have on the club. And hand in hand with that, I think another positive outcome, which from our volunteer feedback we got as well, was this idea of forming really kind of like personal relationships with the participants each week. So we're kind of getting invested in their life. They would come, they would share things with us, they would tell us about their week, their highlights, any issues they were having, they would update us on exams. You know, it was really a nice kind of personal relationship where we were very much rooting for them, and there was really quite a dynamic interaction we were able to have, and this really has shown to be a highlight for our volunteers. And then I think kind of what STAR as a society stands for, which again kind of was a great outcome, was just this idea of we were able to help individuals, and I think that's a very rewarding thing to be able to do. And when you're coming from a position where you can help and we are able to, and we have the facilities to do so, I think that's a really great outcome for the society and this project specifically, because we can see that projects like this do have such a great impact. So that was kind of the outcomes for volunteers like myself. And then we also got some feedback from the participants, so the students who would come along each week to get our help, which I think Siobhan is going to talk through now.
Yeah, so you can see this graph here. We asked the students what they mostly come to Homework Club for, and I think this really echoes what Jessica was saying about how it's not just about the getting support with schoolwork. So they all said, all the ones we managed to ask said, yeah, getting help with homework was the reason they come, but also to chat is the same reason that they also come. So it's also about socializing and even, yeah, chatting with their peers, but also chatting with people at university, which is really beneficial, to be able to spend time talking to people who are a little bit older than them and who have really good English skills as well. So yeah, so they got to improve their English skills. They got help with their homework, including maths homework for one of our regulars. And I think he's happy with how his exam went for maths. He's now moved over to more English support now. And yeah, so one young person said they would save questions throughout the week to get assistance with, so the club was like a real lifeline for everything that they found difficult throughout the week, and they all enjoyed chatting and socializing with volunteers and with each other. I think that is the end of what we have to say, so thanks so much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just mindful of time because we're running a bit over, so if anyone does have any questions for Star, perhaps put them in the chat and they can be answered in the chat box, as I want to make sure that people can attend as much of this as possible. So our next society is the African Caribbean Medical Society, who are going to be talking to us about the Acura Project. So I'll just hand over to them now. I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think Mohammed is frozen, maybe.
Oh, okay. I will see if I. Oh, actually.
The slides are now on the screen, so I think you've come back.
Apologies.
No, don't worry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly now.
Okay, I'll restart. Yeah. So we are the African and Caribbean Medical Society. I'm Mohammed, I'm a third-year medic, and I am one of the outreach officers.
And I'm Toby. I was the outreach manager for the African Caribbean Medical Society. So the Acura Project was a WP initiative that we planned to work with Year 9 and Year 10 students from African Caribbean backgrounds. And it was mainly targeted at schools in Southwark and Lambeth, and it was mainly non-selective state schools. So we really encouraged the school to ensure all students from all sets were able to come to the program. We didn't want them to only invite top set students to be a part of it. So originally when we first ran the program, it was 6 sessions, but this year online we had 7 sessions. The additional session we ran was an opportunity session. So we discussed with them programs like K+, Target Medicine, MedView, to really try and broaden their horizon of the different opportunities that they could get involved in, and also to try and help them start planning. The other sessions focused on university applications, developing their analytical skills and sort of goal setting skills. And then also we created an EBook for students who might not have access to the Zoom sessions or who might have difficulties connecting, that they'd still be able to follow along what we were doing in each session and still be a part of the program. And then we kind of culminated the program in our Raising Aspiration Day that we had on the 5th of June. And that was kind of bringing together everything that we'd spoke throughout the program. And we had some talks with some doctors, so the students had an opportunity to speak to doctors from different specialties. And we did some history taking with them so they could see what it was like to actually be a medical student. So we first started the program in 2019, and we initially ran it as a Raising Aspiration Day. And we sampled all of the sessions that developed into the 7 sessions that we now have. And then in 2019/2020, we went into a school face-to-face. We then had to adapt this for this current year, 2020-21. So we still worked with the same school, but we had the Zoom sessions and they were all online. We had a few challenges with changing the time. So initially the students weren't at school. So we started straight after, so about 3:15 to 4:15. But then the students went back to school in the middle of our program. So we had to change the time to 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. So in terms of what we aim to do, we hope to encourage them to pursue higher education first, and also try and encourage them to apply for medicine and give them the knowledge that they need. And then just providing them with early exposure to the different aspects of the application process, so like UCAT, personal statements, interviews. So in terms of what we thought made the program stand out was it was a longitudinal program. So compared to some other programs where they have one-off days, we wanted to have a program that were able to support the students over a prolonged period of time. So this year we ran it roughly over about 10-ish weeks. But in the past, we've run it over the course of like 6 months with 1 session per month. And then the activities, we specifically tried to have medicine activities alongside activities that would boost their self-confidence, give them early exposure to just a general university application process, because they might change their mind because they're at such an early stage.
So these are 2 of the sessions that we delivered this year. The first is a goal setting session where we introduce the students to the concept of SMART goals. The aim of this session, as Toby mentioned, was to equip them with the soft skills and the confidence so that they can go on and pursue whatever it is that they wanted to pursue, not just medicine in particular. We also had an opportunity session, which was brand new, that launched this year. And again, that was to empower the young people, because there are lots and lots of opportunities out there, and often it's about navigating the opportunities and being able to pinpoint which ones are for you. We also we launched our EBook to accompany our virtual delivery of the sessions this year. And this was to bridge the gap for those students that may not have resources at hand, such as stable internet connection, who may not have Wi-Fi at home, etc., so that they could actually follow the sessions. The EBook we made sure to make really fun, look interesting, and have interactive components that the kids can engage with as well. In terms of the impact, or measuring the impact of the program, we distributed pre-Acura questionnaires So in total, we had between 12 and 16 students attending our sessions on a weekly basis, and we had students from years 8 to 12. So in the pre-Acura questionnaire, we wanted to gauge their sort of baseline understanding of different components of the medical school application process. So here's a sample question on how confident the students feel before the program on different components of the application process. And here's some more example questions. So we had a question on UCAS. UCAS is, what all the schools use. So we thought it would be important to introduce the students in year 9 and 10, especially to UCAS early on, so that later down the line in year 12, with more. So we also distributed, after the Raising Aspiration Day, the post-Acura questionnaire, and hopefully we will be able to compare the progress that the students have made in their understanding. So here's another example question on the UCAT that the students came.
So in terms of our next slide, it was going to be discussing the key issues and the challenges that we had. So what we found was that it was very difficult to sometimes engage the students in turning on their cameras and getting them involved in the breakout rooms and those sort of sessions, and also ensuring that they came every week. That was another challenge that we had. So sometimes the students would come one week and then they wouldn't come the next week, and then they'd come a different week. So it was difficult to always get that continuity compared to in person, where they were a lot more likely to come. And like some of the other groups alluded to with their previous talks, some of them I can imagine just felt a bit tired, spending all day in school and then having to rush home to come and do some sessions on Zoom. And then our last slide, we're just going to talk about our experience. So it was very different to what it was like running in person. So like I said, they didn't always turn on their cameras, sometimes they did. So the engagement kind of went up and down. But one thing that we did find was really good was having the Kahoot quizzes. So they seemed to really like the Kahoot quizzes at the beginning of the sessions, and we ran some polls on Zoom to try and get them involved. And they really also did like the activities. So that was positive to see that they liked that kind of aspect. And adapting to online was probably the other, issue that we found, how, because we'd planned all these sessions to be in person, now changing them all to be suitable to have the activities to be online. And I think that's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It was really interesting. Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll have to answer them through the chat, so we've got time for the next group. But thank you so much. So I think the final group is the Trauma and Orthopedic Society, who are going to tell us about their outreach project. So if you'd like to share your slides, please do.
What incentives used to...
Great. Okay, great. So, hi, I'm Vanessa, and I'm here with Matt, and we are representing the widening participation event that was hosted by the KCL Trauma and Orthopedic Society. Yeah, so we noticed that students who attended non-selective state schools were underrepresented in some particular areas, and these areas being in medical school applications, in surgery, and specifically the specialty of orthopedics. So we decided to do something about that and create an event to help the issue. So we held 2 events with approximately 36 form students in each event. And here we have a plan of the event and how the day went. So it began with a talk on how to create a competitive application to medicine, and that was given by medical students. This was then followed by a talk describing the A to E assessment, which provided the students with information to complete workshops. So for the workshops, the students were put into groups and put into breakout rooms, and they were each given a medical scenario, and they had to complete an A to E assessment based on their specific scenario. and later they would present their case back to everyone. So we chose an A to E assessment because we thought it was an appropriate level for the sixth form students, and we'll give them an introduction to what it's like to be a medical student. So after the presentation, the students received a talk from orthopedic surgeons about a day in their life, and this was followed by a Q&A opportunity, so they had the option to ask questions. And then the day was ended with awards for the best presentation, and the winning group received Amazon vouchers.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. We gave our students before and after questionnaires to try and sort of assess the impact and analyze what we were doing. So all of our students were interested in applying for medical school. And we asked them if they were more or less interested after attending our event, and around 80% of them said that they were actually more interested, with only a small number reporting that they were less or no change. And we have some qualitative data to see why that was as well. Around half of them were already interested in a surgical career, but as we can see, we've got around a third of them that weren't sure, and some that weren't interested at all. And after attending their our event, around 3/4 are actually more interested in going into a career in surgery. And that's quite similar with orthopedic surgery. You can see here a very, very large number. The vast majority of our students weren't sure whether they were interested in orthopedic surgery. And after the event, we see that, again, around 3/4 are more interested in going into orthopedics and musculoskeletal surgery. So similarly, we assessed our students' confidence in their medical school applications, and we can see that most of our students are sort of neutral or not confident before the event, that they sort of know how to make their applications competitive. But afterwards, we can see around 95% actually are more confident in their knowledge of how to make their medical school applications competitive. And similarly, in orthopedic surgery, they weren't as confident in their ability to pursue these surgical careers. But afterwards, again, around 90-95% of students report feeling more confident that they're actually able to go down this route. And we've got a lot of positive and constructive feedback to back this up. So they feel more confident about their applications. They really enjoyed the talks from orthopedic surgeons. They feel like they have more insight into actually what it means to be an orthopedic surgeon. And they also reported getting over some of their self-doubts as well. So on the back of this event, we've created a new position in the committee. So we've got an outreach officer who will be overseeing these events in the future. As I said, we've received some very valuable positive and constructive feedback to make our future events even better. And around 2/3 of our students have agreed to be followed up. So we're going to be sending out follow-up questionnaires to see whether our event does have any long-term impact. I just want to say thank you to all the people listed here. This wasn't a small project. There was a lot of work to do, and all of these people have helped with this event and to be able to have us give it to the students. So I just want to thank all of those people, and thank you for listening and having me here today. Thanks, Vanessa, for presenting with me, and I welcome any questions that you have.
Thank you both. I think we do have time for maybe you to answer one question verbally, and then the rest will have to go in the chat. So if anyone has a question, please raise your hand or put it in the chat. If not, we can move on to the final part of today's event. Before we do that, if you do think of a question, we can put it in the chat and come back to it in the chat box. So the final thing that we're going to cover now is Luke Chapman, who's the head of widening participation in the post-16 team at King's College London WP team. So I'll just hand us over to Luke.
Great, thanks so much, Lily Rose. Can I suggest, I'm sure we're all really impressed with what the students presented. Can I suggest that in a typical online way, we give a round of applause or a thumbs up with our emojis in some way? Okay, super. So I firstly just wanted to say thank you so much for taking us through the great work that you've done today. It is amazing to see the sorts of quality of the outreach work that's going on by our student societies. What was really clear is that impact was key to the programs. Most of these programs were all of the programs were impact led. There was so much evidence that was used to inform what interventions would take place, and that was so great to see. We know in widening participation how much work goes into these, and this is our full-time job to run interventions, and you students have managed to balance not only a packed academic schedule, all your other society commitments, your personal life, but you have a life outside of this as well, and also like meaningful interventions for young people, which is absolutely brilliant. And this was a year that is difficult to run outreach. We've heard some of the challenges and the obstacles that you faced in delivering these programs, and you've still managed to create the impact that you have. And just being able to show up and dedicate your time for social good is something that not many people do. And I would just ask you to imagine what the world would look like if it was full of people who are dedicated to making the social change that you guys are. So you are genuinely a credit to King's, and we thank you for choosing to study with us. The crux of these issues is something that requires like a lot of thought, a lot of planning. We heard about how you use data to inform interventions, how you use lived experiences, and how you used evidence. And that's really great to hear that the interventions are planned in that meaningful way. They were powerful ideas, and some of these are really sustained programs now where we're seeing them delivered every year. Some of them are newer. And equally, it's great to see both in that way. Some of the things that impressed me the most, the Bangladesh Society, how it's such a longitudinal program now, how that intervention's targeted at a really specific group of people, and how you've got a specific aim that you're looking to address. And that longitudinal program, that approach to not seeing a young person or a family just once, but building the relationship is really important. Start working with priority groups who are least likely to go to university, focusing on attainment, which we know is one of the key stubborn issues and one of the barriers that we need to address to help young people to progress to higher education. African Caribbean Medical Society, focusing on early intervention, like how important it is to work with key stage 3s in the way you have. And the Trauma Orthopedic Society, having a really targeted approach in that this is going to help with your work experience. And we know that there's a lot of nepotism in work experience. We know that we're providing opportunities there for our young people who didn't otherwise have them. So that was really, really great to see, and just a snippet of the things that impressed me. I just wanted to give a shout out to the partnership that exists between the Widening Participation Department and the Students' Union, and especially to Lily Rose for all the work that she does in driving this agenda forward for us. It's seen as one of the models of really good practice in partnership working in the sector, and I think everyone who's here in the WP team will say how impressed they are and how it's going from strength to strength. And so, massive thanks for the commitment that not only the Students' Union and Lily Rose shows, but also obviously for all the students who dedicate in their time to do this. And I just wanted to finish really, just aware of time, by saying that King's calls itself a civic university, and this is exactly what we're talking about. The importance of engaging meaningfully with your local community is essential for driving the agenda of a civic-minded university like King's forward. It's more than just paying lip service to that idea. It's actually running interventions, dedicating time, turning up, building relationships with local communities. So I really hope that you'll feel proud of the work that you've done in this year out of all years. There will be a ripple effect to this where the communities you've engaged with will feel inspired and hopefully go on and do similar things to what you do, and that movement will grow. But on behalf of King's, I just wanted to say a massive thank you. It's been a real joy to hear about the work.
Thank you so much, Luke. And yeah, that was a really lovely way to kind of end the session. A really nice summary of the importance of all of these projects and yeah, the great work you've done. So I think we're like just about on time, which is always a positive. But yeah, just a final thank you to everyone who presented today and to our guest speakers as well, and to everyone for coming as well. We'll let you drop off. Feel free to put any comments or questions in the chat. But yeah, thank you very much everyone for coming.